Hello, YouTubers and NFL fans everywhere. This is Matt, the NFL Fanatic, giving you my Week 14 2023 NFL predictions. Well, for the Fanatic this week, it was a good week overall for both my against the spread and straight up predictions. I will gladly take getting identical winning records for against the spread and straight up. However, unfortunately, from the last game with the Niners and Eagles on, it all just went to crap. After the start I had through the first 10 games of the week, I was in a very good spot through the first 10 games. The final 3 games ended up being total duds. So just to tell everybody this week, so against the spread this past week, I went 8-4-1 against the spread, and straight up I went 8-5. So that equals 65.4% against the spread. Straight up I went 8-5, which equals 61.5%. The push I got was I took the Los Angeles Chargers -6, and in the ultimate Chargers type of game, even with all that offensive talent of Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler, Quinn Johnson, Gerald Everett, Khalil Mack on the defense, Derwin James, they could only muster 6 total points. They won because their defense for the first time all year actually shut down an opponent. It was the Patriots, so, give or take how impressive that is. But that's how I got the push. And fun fact, by the way, the only times in Justin Herbert's career, this is a genuine fact, he has played, I believe, like 63 or 64 games at this point. The only 2 times that his offense has not been able to score a touchdown is against the Patriots. Fun fact. It was kind of crazy to think about that, but that is a true fact. The only 2 times Justin Herbert has been shut out of the end zone has been by Bill Belichick and the Patriots. So he still has an order. And an 8-5 straight up. Definitely Eagles-Niners, tip of the cap to the San Francisco 49ers. Everybody that took the 49ers, congratulations. I thought it was an absolutely clinical, surgical performance by San Francisco. They played basically a flawless game after the first 2 drives, where they only gained negative 3 or 4 yards in those first 2 drives. The next 6 drives, touchdowns. First time for them since 2012 that they scored on 5 to 6 straight possessions. Brock Purdy was sensational, another 140 plus quarterback rating, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. Deebo Samuel, sensational. And the 49ers have shown that going into this week and maybe for the rest of the year, that they are, in my opinion, clearly the best team in the entire NFL. And there is no team, I feel like, if the Niners get to the Super Bowl in the AFC side, that I feel like the Niners can't beat, but they will beat. So, that was a tough loss there. Chiefs-Packers, shout out to the Packers for that great, flurry of a finish. They shut down the Chiefs' offense once again. I was stunned by the lack of offense outside of Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Isaiah Pacheco, and Rasheed Rice. They had in the game 245 of the 337 total yards were from Isaiah Pacheco, Travis Kelce, and Rasheed Rice. That is a disaster for the Chiefs because no other Chiefs receiver this year has more than 332 yards. So this offense, which got shut out in the first half, only the second time that's happened this year, Denver a few weeks ago, that happened. It's showing that I think, again, with how the AFC is shaping up with all the quarterback injuries, I objectively believe that if you are the Kansas, City Chiefs, you're in a good spot. But if you're Baltimore and Miami, you got to feel good about, hey, we can beat this Chiefs team and get to the Super Bowl. Because this Chiefs team cannot generate a lot of good, consistent offense, and they only really have 3 legitimate weapons on offense, and everybody else can't do anything. And that defense, they should get a pass because they've been playing lights out for most of the year. They gave the most points they've given up at 27. And Jordan Love was just slinging that rock all over the field to Dontari Wicks, Christian Watson, even though he pulled up on his hamstring. Best wishes to himself there. But that was a tough one. let's see, I'm just trying to think a couple of little other things. Jets, Falcons. Oh, what a disaster. What a disaster for that game. Congrats to the Falcons, because actually Desmond Ridder threw his second career road touchdown pass to Michael Pruitt, who scored his first touchdown since week 18 of last year. But, oh, man, the Jets, sorry, all Jet fans. You should just let Tim Boyle start. Well, they cut Tim Boyle, actually, today. I just read that. So Brett Ripien's in there. Just let Brett Ripien start and just lose out and take the draft pick and move on to next year, because that's how bad it's gotten. And then the last little thing, and I'll get into the rest of my picks. Colts, Titans, what a game. Job well done by Levis. Though he did get sacked 6 times, that is now the 4th game in about his 8th start that he has gotten sacked at least 4 more times. So that offensive line does need a lot of help in pass protection. I thought DeAndre Hopkins Hopkins had a solid game. He is the 4th youngest receiver to get 12,000 receiving yards. Henry had 2 nice rushing touchdowns. And it basically was Ryan Tannehill after Ryan Stonehouse got 2 bunts blocked back-to-back that basically cost them the momentum of the game. And if that extra point gets made, the Titans win, and we have a whole different conversation about where the Colts are in the AFC playoff picture. But shout out to the Colts. Gardner Minshew and Shane Steichen. The ultimate story of the year from a team that nobody expected. Even more, I think it's even more impressive than Houston. And I would give Shane Steichen the vote of Coach of the Year over D'Amico Ryans. My original pick, Mike Tomlin, I think he's done a good job, but the Steelers, with Kenny Pickett's injury with the high ankle sprain, I don't know if they're going to win enough or be able to get into the playoffs to justify him being Coach of the Year. So, those are my quick thoughts on the games. This is the last bye week of the year, so if anybody has any Cardinals or Commanders, anybody out there, Marquise Brown, Kyler Murray, James Conner, if you have any Brian Robinson, if you have any of those players, bench them. I don't know how many people have significant Commanders or Cardinals players, but if you have any of those players, bench them. They are not playing this week, and then you get the last 3-week stretch for fantasy playoffs, unless you're playing in week 18, which is very risky. And we are going to go into the 64-game sprint next week with 16 games for the final 4 weeks of the year. So, all right, so let me get into my picks for this week. So this Thursday, when the 2-10 New England Patriots travel to Pittsburgh to take on the 7-5 Pittsburgh Steelers, the Pittsburgh Steelers are 5-point favorites in this game. I'm going to take New England here, +5, but give me Pittsburgh here, straight up. Then on Sunday, when the 5-7 Tampa Bay Buccaneers travel to Atlanta to take on the 6-6 Atlanta Falcons, the Atlanta Falcons are 2.5-point favorites in this game. Give me Atlanta here, -2.5, and Atlanta straight up. Then the next game, when the 9-3 Detroit Lions travel to Chicago to take on the 4-8 Chicago Bears, the Detroit Lions are 3-point favorites in this game. Give me Detroit here, -3, and Detroit straight up. Then the next game, when the 7-5 Indianapolis Colts travel to Cincinnati to take on the 6-6 Cincinnati Bengals, the Indianapolis Colts are 1-point favorites in this game. I'm going to take Indianapolis here, -1, and Indianapolis straight up. Then the next game, when the 8-4 Jacksonville Jaguars travel to Cleveland to take on the 7-5 Cleveland Browns, the Cleveland Browns are 3-point favorites in this game due to the injury to William Trevor Lawrence and the high ankle sprain that I just heard from Doug Peterson. He is considered day-to-day, but I'm going to project this pick as I don't believe William Trevor Lawrence will play. So I'm going to take Cleveland here, -3, and Cleveland straight up. If he is able to play, I will change my pick against the spread to Jacksonville as the underdog, or if they're the favorite, depending on his health status. And I will take Jacksonville straight up, so that's just an FYI, little precursor there. I will change my pick if William Trevor Lawrence is active somehow from this high ankle sprain. I think he's going to be out for at least a couple weeks, so see how that goes. But in the next game, when the 1-11 Carolina Panthers, the Panthers unfortunately have the distinction of being the first team completely eliminated from playoff contention, which is very sad because they play in the cruddy South. And the fact that you can't even make the playoff contention even in your own division, that's a real sad problem, especially when it's the NFC South, but I digress. But when the 1-11 Carolina Panthers travel to New Orleans to take on the 5-7 New Orleans Saints, the New Orleans Saints are 5-point favorites in this game. I'm going to take New Orleans here straight up, but give me Carolina +5. Then the next game, when the 7-5 Houston Texans travel to New York to take on the 4-8 New York Jets, the Houston Texans are 6-point favorites in this game. Give me the Houston Texans here, -6, and the Houston Texans straight up. Then the next game, when the 6-6 Los Angeles Rams travel to Baltimore to take on the 9-3 Baltimore Ravens, The Baltimore Ravens are 7-point favorites in this game. Give me the Los Angeles Rams here +7, but I'm going to take the Baltimore Ravens straight up. Then the next game, when the 6-6 Minnesota Vikings travel to Las Vegas to take on the 5-7 Las Vegas Raiders. The Minnesota Vikings are 3-point favorites in this game. Give me Minnesota here -3 and Minnesota straight up. Then the next game, when the 6-6 Seattle Seahawks travel to San Francisco to take on the 9-3 San Francisco 49ers. The San Francisco 49ers are 10.5-point favorites in this game. Give me San Francisco here -10.5 and San Francisco straight up. Then the next game, in one of the great anticipated rematches of the year, when the 6-6 Buffalo Bills travel to Kansas City to take on the 8-4 Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs are 2.5-point favorites in this game. Give me Kansas City here -2.5 and Kansas City straight up. Then the next game, when the 6-6 Denver Broncos travel to Los Angeles to take on the 5-7 Los Angeles Chargers. The Los Angeles Chargers are 3-point favorites in this game. In one of my 2 outright upsets of the week, give me Denver here +3 and Denver straight up. Then the Sunday night game in the NFC game of the year, or the second biggest NFC game of the year, when the 10-2 Philadelphia Eagles travel to Dallas to take on the 9-3 Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys are 3.5-point favorites in this game. Give me Philadelphia here +3.5 and Philadelphia straight up. Then the double header on Monday Night Football, when the 4-8 Tennessee Titans travel to Miami to take on the 9-3 Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins are 13.5-point favorites in this game. Give me the Miami Dolphins here straight up, obviously. But I'm going to take the Tennessee Titans +13.5. Then in the other Monday night game, when the 6-6 Green Bay Packers travel to New York to take on the 5-7 New York Giants. The Green Bay Packers are 6.5-point favorites in this game. Give me Green Bay here -6.5 and Green Bay straight up. All right, it's time for my quick thoughts on each game. The Pittsburgh Steelers over the New England Patriots. This is one to where the New England Patriots are playing such inept offense that they're the first team since the 1938 Chicago Cardinals to lose 3 straight games while allowing 10 or fewer points on defense. This is the longest losing streak in the Bill Belichick Patriots era of 5 straight games, and they have had the best 4-game stretch of allowing points. They've only allowed 46 points over the last 4 games, and they are 0-4 in those games, and they also had Ramondre Stevenson have an injury which caused him to miss some time. He has a high ankle sprain, and they said he will be out a few weeks. I honestly think you would just show him for the year, because I don't think there's any point if he's out 3 of the final 4 games or whatever, 3 of the final 5 games. There's no point in bringing him back. It was the worst start of Bailey Zappe's career. He threw 2 interceptions. They couldn't score a point. And when you look at this game between the Patriots and the Steelers, look, Mitch Trubisky, Kenny Pickett's now been hurt of a bone bruise in his knee, a rib injury, and now he sprained his ankle. And now he's at least going to be out 2 to 4 weeks. Or 2 to 4 weeks. So he's out at least this week and probably the game against the Colts. But at least for the Steelers, and positively, they do have back-to-back games of outgaining the opponent in total yardage. And to be fair to the Pittsburgh Steelers themselves, there was a massive weather delay due to some significant storms that that formed over the Pittsburgh tri-state area. So that was kind of a massive momentum shifter there. I do want to shout out Mykal Walker, who had 10 total tackles on Sunday during the game. And the Steelers, unfortunately on offense, they've had the 4th fewest total passing yards and the 2nd fewest passing touchdowns. But you have to take Pittsburgh to win this game just because I don't see how you can watch the Patriots offense and all you have to ask Trubisky and his offense to do with the talent they have, is score 10 to 13 points. That's all you need. That is all you need to win this game. And I think since they already ruled out Pickett, so there's no splitting of reps or like that, I think the Pittsburgh Steelers can hold on and win this game. I remember last year, this was a weird game. This was the second week of last year, and Mac Jones was able to beat Trubisky in a very awkward game in Pittsburgh. It kind of has that same vibe now, except the Patriots are in a much weaker spot this year, and you're looking at it going like, okay, I am not saying that Pittsburgh is going to dominate the Patriots, but I just have enough faith in Pittsburgh's defense and enough faith in Pittsburgh's offense that's healthy at what you've seen improvement that they can put enough on the Patriots defense that they can't match. And, could the Patriots win? Sure. It's Patriots Steelers, and the Steelers just seem to have some odd ineptitude when they don't have a functional offense, and they just lost to a 3-1 Cardinal team, pretty handily. So, but I'm going to take Pittsburgh here. Home game, short week. Trust the defense to ride it out, and I trust Trubisky with a full week of first-team reps to be able to outplay Bailey Zappe, or I trust the Steelers enough to score at least a touchdown or 13 points, and that should be enough to beat this Patriot offense with how good that Pittsburgh defense has been for most of the year. So that's why I like Pittsburgh here straight up at New England +5. The next game, the Atlanta Falcons over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is one to where I am taking the Atlanta Falcons because this is, to me, the home environment factor for Desmond Ridder. But very quickly for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I want to shout out Mike Evans, who had a fantastic day against Carolina. He had 7 receptions for 162 yards. He is the first player in NFL history with at least 60 receptions in his first 10 years. He is the third player, he is the second player in NFL history to have 11 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons. So that's a tremendous accomplishment. Mike Evans also has now 11 career games with at least 150 yards. That ties with Torrey Holt and Randy Moss, the fourth most for a player in his first 10 years, which is sensational. And I believe Mike Evans is very much a Frank Gore type player. If he plays another 5 years, he's 30 right now, he will probably become the third all-time leading receiver, which is kind of amazing because nobody has ever thought Mike Evans has been that dominant, but it's that consistency which is impressive, which I, tip my cap to. And shout out Mike Evans for being the greatest wide receiver in, the franchise's history. But you could argue at the end of the day, he is the greatest Buccaneer player at his position or, in the history of the franchise. And I would just, put that out there. Also, shout out to Antoine Winfield for getting the game-winning interception, the second pick of the year. And also, that Bucs defense was sensational. On 10 of the 13 drives against the Panthers, they held that Panthers pop gun offense to a grand total of 45 yards. And honestly, another weird stat that happened from the game on Sunday between Carolina and Tampa Bay, third career game for Chris Godwin that he had no targets, or third career game that he started that he's had no targets and no receptions. He had a rushing touchdown. But Tampa, I just feel like is in a good spot, and they're playing for the division because if they're above 6 and 7, it's going to be real tight, moving forward. I mentioned the Desmond Ridder touchdown pass earlier, but I want to shout out the Falcons defense. First 3-turnover game forced by the Falcons this week 1, and they've allowed the fewest rushing touchdowns in the league. And I think Jesse Bates has been the stalwart of this Atlanta defense. He has 5 interceptions, which is top 5 in the league. He's been everywhere, phenomenal tackler, and he's been the leader of that defense, which has guided them to a pretty phenomenal run. And when you look at this Falcons-Bucks game, look, could the Bucks win? Sure. Baker's played better than Ridder. Baker has some more talent. Rashad White has, they've been able to run the ball, and they have some momentum. But at the end of the day, when you just watch the Falcons at home, they're just able to grind out games in their division and just overall that you just feel like, okay, like you'll trust Koo over the Bucks or McLaughlin. You'll trust Arthur Smith to maybe make a few things. And I just feel like with the Bucks, there's something about Baker's mistakes that, like, it was like the Colts game to where I feel like Tampa will make one key mistake that Atlanta will capitalize, and they win the game based on that home crowd and just how Desmond Ridder seems just to feel more comfortable at home making plays and making decisions. So that's why I like Atlanta here, -2.5 in Atlanta straight up. The next game, the Detroit Lions over the Chicago Bears. This is one to where by 8 minutes and 15 seconds in the first quarter, the Detroit Lions had already scored 3 touchdowns and were up 21-0. Unfortunately for them, they went after that moment. They only gained 214 total yards of offense the rest of the game and got outscored 28-12. But fortunately for them, they were able to get a big defensive stop and win the game, which gets them to 9-3, one of their best records since the early 1960s. And also, Sam Laporta had a sensational game. He's the 4th rookie tight end in NFL history with at least 9 receptions, 140 receiving yards, and a TD reception, joining Mike Ditka, Jackie Smith, and Pete Michael back in 95. And I think, here's the thing. Detroit, in my opinion, is one of the top 4 teams in the NFC, but they have clearly, in my opinion, carved out a second tier to where you look at the Niners, the Eagles, and the Cowboys. You say, those are the 3 best in the top tier that could get to the Super Bowl and win. The Lions are the team to where they are better than all the mid and meh of the NFC playoff picture, but they just aren't in that top 3 category. And I know Shao Halfman's big, sorry, buddy. That's just an objective, opinion on my part. That's just some my thoughts. And look, the Lions will get their opportunity playing the Cowboys in a few weeks on the primetime game, I believe, of Week 17, or the Saturday game of Week 17, that is going to be a massive opportunity because if the Lions can beat the Cowboys, and then you might have to say, okay, the Lions can enter that room. If they don't, I think it clearly, definitively says there are 3 teams at the top, and then the Lions are just by themselves in that second tier to where they are better than everybody else down in the NFC, clearly, but they just aren't in that top echelon Super Bowl contending team. And I think the other problem is Detroit cannot generate a pass rush. And there have only been about 2 or 3 games this year where they've gotten more than 2 sacks on the quarterback. And that is a big problem moving forward, I think, for the Lions. But, for the Bears, I think also here's the advantage, I would say. They are amazingly a decent primetime team under Matt Eberflus. Unfortunately, they are not a good team outside of that primetime window. Matt Eberflus in primetime is 4-3. He only allows 18 points a game, and they usually outscore the opponent by a point. In all the other games, he's 3-19. They give up 28 points. They give up 29 points a game, and they're usually losing by at least over a touchdown a game. So, and it was crazy because the Bears, on their 2 weeks ago when they played, they were the first team to win a game this year without an offensive touchdown. And it was back-to-back games. The reason why they were able to do that was it was back-to-back games with 4 defensive turnovers. So Matt Eberflus calling the defense has started, has gotten some dividends. And DJ Moore, who has had, a very good year from the Bears. The next closest wide receiver to him has 521 more yards than anyone else. And I think the biggest problem I have is I don't think Jared Goff, unlike 3 weeks ago, is going to have those 3 horrific interceptions to keep this game close. Because to be fair, the Bears should have won in Detroit about 3 weeks ago. Chicago was playing better, more consistent, kept the ball forward. But the thing that you notice about the Bears is that Justin Fields, for all the progress he's made as a runner, some of the throwing he's made, and some of the clutch plays he's made over the last few weeks, he commits several fourth-quarter turnovers. He had 2 fumbles in the fourth quarter against the Vikings 2 weeks ago. And I just feel like even with the Bears' home field advantage, even with the Bears somewhat having a little bit of confidence, I don't think the Lions are going to play as sloppy. And I think the Lions, fundamentally with their run game, with how good their passing game has been, they go into Chicago and get a tough, gritty victory to sweep the series against the Bears and give them a 10-win season for the first time since, I believe, 2014, which is saying something for the Lions. So, but that's why I like Detroit here -3 and Detroit straight up. The next game, the Indianapolis Colts over the Cincinnati Bengals. The Colts have the longest active winning streak in the NFL with 4 straight wins. I think they said this was the first team since 2020 that the Colts there were 2 blocked punts in the game. And those 2 blocked punts changed everything because they were able to get at least 10 points off of them. And then Gardner, after scoring the 1 touchdown, decided to give Amari Hooker a free pick 2, which I didn't quite understand at all. The irritating thing about that was, though, if you watch the game, they thought it was a touchdown. And I was yelling at my TV going, "What are you doing? That was at the end of the play. That's not a pick 6. That's a pick 2. And, but kudos to the Colts. They overcame a 10-point deficit. It's the first time in 3 years that they have swept the Indianapolis Colts. Alec Pierce had 3 receptions for 100 yards, so he got his first 100-yard game of his career. Michael Pittman had his first touchdown in 3 weeks, and the Indianapolis Colts have fundamentally shown you how effective a backup quarterback can be, and with all the injuries that have gone on, it objectively, to me, feels like they got a steal in Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew's only playing for $3.5 million. And, yeah, his stats aren't gaudy by any means. I think he has 10 TDs, 7 interceptions. But he's been responsible for at least, 6 to 7 wins? I think he's been responsible in part. He doesn't have all their wins. He has 5 of them as a starter. But he's been responsible for guiding the team to 7 wins. And they are literally 1 bad call, couple PI calls away from beating the Browns to be an 8-5 football team. And that's with Gardner. And look, I think to me the issue I have is that now with what we saw on Monday, Jake Brown, former University of Washington quarterback, did not look great against the Pittsburgh Steelers defense, but boy did he look phenomenal against the Jacksonville Jaguars defense. And also for the Bengals, it snapped a 9-game road Monday Night Football losing streak, and that was their first road win, I believe, on Monday Night Football since 1990. So it had been 33 years since the Bengals won a road game on primetime Monday night. And Jake Browning also threw for more yards than Joe Burrow has all year. I'm not saying that Jake Browning is going to replace Burrow or he's any great, but Jake Browning proved that, that game against the Ravens and what happened against the Jags, he will be around an NFL roster some way, somehow. I honestly think the Bengals should up his money to whatever they paid him to be the definitive backup for the Bengals moving forward. I would be willing to give Jake Browning $5 to $7 million a year. I'd say 2 years, 3 years, $15 to $21 million. Please be our backup. Joe Burrow has been out 2 of the last 4 seasons, and we need that assurance. And if Jake Browning would take that salary, that would give the Bengals a nice confidence builder of where they can move forward. And look, the Bengals did have a tough injury. Cam Taylor-Britt, one of their great young corners, was placed on IR, so he's going to be out at least the next 3 games after this past Monday. But at the end of the day, the reason why I'm going with the Colts is I'm going to trust Steichen with this coaching staff and the momentum the Colts have to beat the Bengals. Because I don't think Jake Browning is as great as he was last night. But I don't think he's as bad as what Pittsburgh did to him. But I think if Jake Browning plays a middle game, if Jake, he's not Browning, he's I don't know, it's not tanning. But yeah, but let's say he's basting. Jake, instead of Browning, a good tan, it's more like basting like a chicken. If he's that, I think the Colts, with what they have, the confidence and the continuity they have, I think Steichen outcoaches Taylor in that game with the Colts offense, even with all the injuries they have, and I think they win. Because the Bengals defense did not look that great. They gave up 31 points, and that defense without Britt, that will help out with Pittman and Pierce, and I just trust Steichen to be able to kind of grind out this game a bit more, and I just don't think Jake Browning can copy that type of performance. If he does, the Bengals are going to be in the playoff race again, which nobody expected, but I'm going to take the Colts here. Better coaching, and I just think Jake Browning goes to basting, where I think he'll play better, but not good enough to win. So, but that's like Indianapolis here, -1, Indianapolis straight up. The next game, the Cleveland Browns over the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is one to me to where I am taking the Cleveland Browns based off of the William Trevor Lawrence injury. Look, the Browns defense misses Denzel Ward. In 3 of the last 4 games, they've given up 96 points in 3 of the last 4 games. That is 32 points per game. Joe Flacco, though, I thought did a good enough job. He threw for the same amount of touchdowns that P.J. Walker and Dorian Thompson-Robinson have thrown the entire season. And Joe's only played 1 game. And when you look at the Browns, they also have the 7th best rushing offense. But when you just look at this team, Christian Kirk also, for anybody out there who hasn't seen, he has a core injury. So he's likely out for the remainder of the year. Surgery is probably going to happen, and that's about an 8-week injury. So if the Jags make the Super Bowl, which I don't think they will, based on everything going on, even with, everything going on, even if Lawrence was healthy, I don't think that team was going to be a Super Bowl team. But Christian Kirk is probably out for the year. And it's just something to where, I think Joe Flacco earned the right for the Browns to finish this out. And I just don't think. C.J. Beathard was okay in San Francisco. I think he got 1 or 2 wins back in 2020 with Kyle Shanahan. Doug Peterson's a good offensive mind. And they have ETN. They have Evan Ingram, who, by the way, scored his first touchdown since he's been a Jaguar in Jacksonville last night. One of my friends told me that, and that was kind of a crazy stat. But that is true. That Evan Ingram finally scored a touchdown in his home stadium, which they somehow can't win because they're undefeated on the road and in London, but they've only won 2 games at home this year, which is so bizarre, even though, again, it is Jacksonville, so maybe I'm not surprised because Jacksonville just doesn't have fans. Though I have seen that stat, for anybody who gets on me about bashing Jacksonville, I did see the stat about, hey, they are filling the stadium 104%, but that's just because of the booze in the pool, but, not the games. But, I digress, and that was just, but, when you look at this game, I think Joe Flacco, with that defense, if they get Ward back, I think that defense can do a pretty good hold. And I just don't think I don't think CJ Beathard can do enough to win. I think Joe Flacco can outplay him. The Amari Cooper injury will be significant because he has concussion. I don't know if he'll get cleared. I don't know if Dorian Thompson-Robinson gets cleared. If it's Dorian Thompson-Robinson versus CJ Beathard, that's going to be an interesting battle. I think they should go with Flacco, and I'm going to take the Browns regardless if it's Flacco or DTR, just because I do not think Trevor Lawrence plays. But I will take the Jags if William Trevor Lawrence, it's amazing that they're saying day-to-day. So, if he plays. I don't think he will. I think the Browns get a gritty, tough win with their defense. That Jags offensive line's kind of had some holes. And with the lack of offensive weapons, if you only really have to worry about Evan Ingram, and you make Zay Jones and the other Jags receivers try to beat you, I feel pretty good about where this game's going for Cleveland in this 6. So, that's why I like Cleveland here -3 and Cleveland straight up. And once again, if Jacksonville's quarterback does play, if William Trevor Lawrence does play, I will take the Jags, and I will update all of you in the comments and in the description with that moving forward. So, but that's why I like Cleveland here -3 and Cleveland straight up. The next game, the New Orleans Saints over the Carolina Panthers. This is a game to where I am taking the New Orleans Saints, not based on the fact that I think the Saints are great. It's just because, objectively, the Panthers are that bad. Like, Chuba Hubbard, I do want to shout him out. He ran for the second most yards of his career. I believe he had 105 yards, and he got a touchdown. But Bryce Young threw for about another under 180 yards once again. I don't think he got a touchdown. Xavier Woods, he got his first pick of the year. And they had a big moment where Brian Burns got ejected. Those are kind of the highlights from the Panthers side. And, just when you look at the Panthers, did they show some fight? They did. For the first time in 5 games, they scored over 15 points. They scored 18, which is progress from, the Frank Reich perspective. But just watching that Panthers game, like I told you earlier, they could not move the ball. And no matter how bad the Saints have been, and to be fair, after the Saints, when they got down 21-0 at that 8:15 mark, they did score 4 touchdowns in the second half. They only scored 2 touchdowns the whole year at home. So, there was that positive aspect there. But then Derek Carr once again got hurt. He had another shoulder injury, a rib injury, and another concussion protocol. So, Jameis Winston's probably going to come back in the game. And I think he should start this week because you can't have... It's getting Tua-ish to where he's now, had 3 times this year into the concussion protocol. And I just do not think if you are an objective human being that cares about other human beings, especially football, the football doctors, you cannot let Derek Carr go out there after having 3 concussion protocols within 2 months. If that was Tua, okay, they have been talking about it and they'd be ripping the head. I think because Derek's white and people don't care about it. Derek, people are like, Derek, and look, Derek's a bum. Okay, Derek's a bum of a quarterback. But if you're talking about Derek Carr, the human being, you just have to say to him, look, we have Jameis Winston out there. Jameis Winston, who has, like I told you last week, had more passing touchdowns. And Jameis, I think, is objectively right now the better option than Derek. But just for Derek's own health, his own future, and what's going on, you should put Jameis out there, and I think that should be enough to win. And they have the 7th best passing defense in the league. So I think if you're telling Bryce Young that he can't really pass the ball that much, shut down Chuba Hubbard, and the Saints easily grind out another win. Or grind out a tough win. I don't think that saves the Saints from the South, but it at least, for me, with the Saints, gets them back into a weird spot to where, okay, we got 7-6 and 6-7. Like, the Falcons have to very much closely be careful about, how it ends. And that South race is not a race to the top. It's basically who doesn't fall to the Davy Jones locker to the bottom. So, but that's why I like the New Orleans Saints here straight up. I'm going to take Carolina +5 just because, again, Carolina showed some fight and they're playing another NFC South team on the road. I'll take the points and try to see if I can get that back-to-back weeks. So, the next game, the Houston Texans over the New York Jets. Look, the Houston Texans, C.J. Stroud threw for 274 yards, 1 TD, no interceptions. He has 3,540 yards this year. So he has the 3rd most passing yards through his first 12 games. He's been, sensational. Nico Collins had a career day, 9 receptions, 191 yards. Derek Stingley has now had 4 picks in his last 3 games, including 2 great ones. The best one on Cortland Sutton on that wide open seam route that Russell Wilson tried to throw. And Will Anderson got 2 sacks. And honestly, the reason why you have to go with the Texans, and I'll spend about a minute here, and let me go my weekly Jets rants. And, hey, Mac, you might enjoy this one. The New York Jets just amaze me with how incompetent they are. They have more safeties than first quarter touchdowns this year. Think about that. They give up 2 safeties, and they've had more of those than first quarter touchdowns. This is the 3rd worst rushing offense in the league. Dalvin Cook fumbled again, and there was a report today or yesterday that Zach Wilson did not want to come back into the Jets lineup because he was scared of being hurt and he didn't want to risk injury. Okay? The New York Jets run the biggest snowflake organization in the entire league. That kid is a pathetic cumulus snowflake. He's sensitive because it's like, oh my God, I could get hurt. Wah, the Jets, everybody wants me back, but I don't want to come back in. Dude, that kid should be thankful that he's getting another opportunity to play in the National Football League. And he should be thankful that they were willing to go back to him. Every Zach Wilson skeptic can say, okay, you know what? We were wrong. Even though I think Simeon personally should get a full game instead of a quarter. But if you wanted to throw the Simeon quarter out, I get that he fumbled the ball. Whatever. Okay. We can all admit that. Yeah, Zach, you're the best option for the last few games. You're going to suck, though. But you should be thankful of this opportunity. You know all those USFL and XFL quarterbacks? They're, quarterbacks in Canada. There are millions of players in college, professional, semi-professional, that would kill to have that opportunity. And just because you don't want to get hurt, ooh, my body, I don't want to get yelled at by the New York fans. You know what? You can take your Mormon-loving, happy, weird, ego and stick it where the sun don't shine. Because you should be thankful that the Jets went back to your sorry rear end to give you these final few games. And you know what? I hope the Houston Texans, because again, with the Houston Texans, they have a genuine coach in DeMeco Ryans. They have a genuine quarterback, and they have a genuine idea of what to do. And don't tell me this story isn't fake, because why would the Jets today sign Brett Ripien, the former Bronco quarterback that we saw earlier this year lay an absolute dud against the Packers? If you were going to go back with Zach Wilson, you can just say, since you cut Timmy Boyle, you should be able to say, hey, we got Zach, we got Trevor. Zach's going to start for the rest of the year. Rodgers is done. There's no point in him coming back. Play Zach. If you brought in Tim Boyle, if you brought in Brett Ripien, that must tell you that maybe Zach, they don't want to try it, but you can't go to Brett Ripien at that point. At that point, you're going to your 5th quarterback, and it's just like, Zach is a pathetic little snowflake. And a guy like that has no purpose playing football, playing professional football. He has no purpose doing it. Because it's like, there are millions of other people, there are millions of other, there are tens, hundreds of other professionals that would kill to have this opportunity. And he's just going, well, I don't want to get hurt, or, the Jets' business struggles. You know what, when you're sitting back home, out in the Mormon land of Utah, stuffing, grocery stuff, yeah, you better enjoy that, buddy. Even though, again, you're going to get your $4 million paycheck next year because, you did have that guaranteed contract. But after that, have fun trying to find a fun job, outside of the XFL. You don't even think he's an XFL quarterback. That way. So, that's my old brand on that. Sorry, let me get back to the game. This is the battle of former Niners defensive coordinators, and I honestly think DeMeco as a coach is just more engaging, more understanding, more talkative, more aware than what Robert Saleh is, and I think the Texans put a beat down on the Jets to get to 8-5, which will be very interesting with the Trevor Lawrence injury, that the AFC South now is wide open once again. So that's like the Houston Texans are -6 and the Houston Texans straight up. The next game, the Baltimore Ravens over the Los Angeles Rams. Hey, look, Puka Nacua, job well done to him. Shout out to him. He has 1,029 receiving yards this year. He is the sixth player with at least 1,000 receiving yards through his first 12 career games, joining Odell Beckham, Justin Jefferson, Anquan Bolden, Randy Moss, and Marquez Colston. He's also the third player with 75 receptions in his first 12 games, only joining Jalen Waddle and Odell Beckham. John Johnson got to seal the game with a Week 3 pick, but they have been able to score 36-plus points in back-to-back games. They blew out the Cardinals 2 weeks ago. This week they put up a very good overall effort. Aaron Donald got a big half of a sack for a safety. And in their 3-game winning streak, the Rams have held all their opponents under 100 total rush. So I think that's very key for how this is going. And also for Kyren Williams, speaking of 100 yards, Kyren Williams has had 3 straight games of 100-plus scrimmage yards, so there's correlation there defensively and offensively through the running game that has correlated to this winning streak. Lucas Habershek, a rookie kicker, he's okay. You know, they had Brett Maher. They could have tried, but he's 7 of 10. I think if he misses a key kick or two, it'll be the same idea as we had before. Look, in the Ravens, we have the number 1 defense in points, number 2 defense in yards. Justin Tucker, for the first time in the game against the Chargers, missed a field goal within 50 yards this year. And I want to shout out Lamar Jackson. He is the fastest quarterback in NFL history to rush for 5,000 total career yards in only 82 games. I think Michael Vick was the second fastest, and I think it took him over 100. So Lamar Jackson, I will think very easily he will be the all-time leading rushing quarterback here over the next 2 to 3 years. And it's going to be a pretty remarkable thing because I think he could become, objectively, the first 10,000-yard rusher in NFL history. So, I think that's on the board. It's going to be a fun game. Look, the Ravens have had a very good winning percentage off the bye. John Harbaugh doesn't lose that often off the bye. We've held a 4-quarter lead in every game. And through this Rams-Ravens history in St. Louis and L.A., just 2 years ago was the only time we lost a home game to the Rams all time. And that was coming off a game-ending field goal, which was tough. But I believe the Ravens should be able to, rest a team an extra week off. They should be able to play an all-around good game to beat the LA Rams. And I'm going to take the Rams plus 7 because, again, it's the Ravens. We've always seemed to kind of weirdly hold on, and 7 is a weird number for how this Rams team is playing, and I'll give the Rams their credit, and I think we hold on and win. But Lamar, hey, he's also only had 1 career loss in the NFC, so I might regret it too because the last 2 times he's played the NFC at home, we kicked the tar out of the Seahawks, and we kicked the tar out of the Lions. So, but that's why I like the Baltimore Ravens are straight up at the LA Rams plus 7. The next game, the Minnesota Vikings over the Las Vegas Raiders. This is one to me to where I don't know who the Vikings are going to pick at their starting quarterback. Josh Dobbs in his last game threw his first career 4-interception game. It was pretty horrific. They did get 2 big fumbles in the fourth quarter. The Vikings have the biggest problem to why they're a 500 football team is they've given the second most turnovers overall, and offensively, they have lost the most fumbles in the league. Jordan Addison has been a very good rookie receiver. I would say he's probably been the second best rookie receiver of the year. He has 54 receptions so far this year, 686 yards, and 7 touchdowns. And if they go to Jaren Hall, he's gone 8 of 10 for his career. I think he's thrown for 60 yards. So, to me, even with that Viking quarterback question, the reason why I'm going with the Vikings is because of Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson got activated off the IR right after the Monday night game, so he should be able to play. He should be playing in this game in Vegas where a lot of Vikings fans will come over. The Raiders, look, they've had Josh Jacobs had 20-plus carries and at least 98-plus yards in 3 of the last 4 games. Aiden O'Connell's thrown at least a touchdown in the past 3 games. Weirdly enough, here's 2 crazy stats. Jacoby Myers actually leads the team in touchdowns with 6. Devontae's been the more dominant and all-around receiver. And Max Crosby has 11.5 sacks, which is arguably top 5, top 6 in the league. He's been the dominant, all-around, best defensive player on the entire team. No other Raider player has more than 2.5 sacks in this game. Could Aiden O'Connell outplay Jaren Hall? Yes, I think Aiden O'Connell actually has shown you he's better than Jaren Hall because we don't know what Jaren Hall is. But I think if they go with Dobbs, which I think it would be the right choice, I think Dobbs, with the addition of Justin Jefferson, expanding the offense with Addison, with Hawkinson, with Madison running the ball, with Cameron not Bynum, but the other Cameron player who's not a bad third, Brandon Powell. There we go, I found the guy. Brandon Powell. Not Cameron. Brandon Powell should, I think, have an effective game. And to me, I think that's why the Vikings win. I'm going to trust Kevin O'Connell with that offense, with the addition of Jefferson, to outcoach Antonio Pierce on the defensive side of the ball in a weird kind of game for the Vikings. And for the Raiders, if they win, they're kind of hanging on too for their playoff lives too. But I'm going to trust the coaching and the better quarterback and Justin Jefferson to win over the Raiders. So that's why I like Minnesota here. -3 and Minnesota straight up. The next game, the San Francisco 49ers over the Seattle Seahawks. This is one to where, look, for San Francisco, Brock Purdy was great. 4 games this year with 140-plus quarterback rating. The Niners have outscored the 2 best teams in the NFC, 84-29. And then when you look at what San Francisco has done, he has just been absolutely dominant. They are 9-0 when all their players are healthy. Debo was sensational. He's the 4-5 receiver since 2000. Released 100 receiving yards, 2 touchdown receptions, and 1 rushing touchdown in the same game. Chase Claypool did it apparently. David Patton and Javon Walker. Those are the only 4 other receivers with that. And it's something to where with Seattle, look, they finally showed up offensively. For the first time in the Pete Carroll era, they were 35-0 when they scored 35 or more points. They finally lost the game with that. DK Metcalf scored his season total of touchdowns in the game against the Cowboys. He definitely made Deron Bland look flat instead of bland. And I think the other issue I have with the Seahawks is they have the 5th worst rushing offense in the league. And with Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker dealing with injuries, I don't know if Kenneth Walker is going to be able to come back. Charbonnet, I think, is in a concussion protocol, so we'll see what's happened over the past 10 days. But getting those 2 guys back will be significant. But we just saw this game 2 weeks ago. And the Niners, even with Brock Purdy playing an okay game, including where he threw a pick 6 to Jordan Brooks for, I believe, Jordan Brooks' first touchdown of his career, the Niners still was able to win by 18 points. Do I think the Seahawks could win? Or, could cover? Sure. I think Seattle, they understand the desperation of this. And San Francisco is coming off a massive high. And usually, if you're going to come off of that, usually you kind of lay low. But I also think the 49ers understand, if the Cowboys win, the San Francisco 49ers are probably going to get the number 1 seed and control their destiny in getting to Super Bowl 58, which I think if they get to keep home field advantage, I think they get there easily. That's just my opinion. It's going to be a very interesting dynamic because I feel like for the 49ers, they are steamrolling, and I just think the Seahawks, they're going to put up a decent fight, but since they lost the way they lost against the Cowboys, I don't think they pick it up off the mat to play a division rival that's firing all cylinders. So that's why I like San Francisco here -10.5 and San Francisco straight up. The next game, the Kansas City Chiefs over the Buffalo Bills. To me, this is a game to where I'm going to take the Kansas City Chiefs just because I cannot trust the Bills in close spots. The Bills now are 0-6 all-time under Josh Allen in overtime games, which is crazy, and they can't win a lot of one-score games. I think they're like 2-7 over the last 2 or 3 years in one-score games. The Bills are a team that they are the KO, one punch, for the great anime fans, that they're the one punch of the NFL. To where, if they can hit you with the one punch, they're done. But unlike one punch, if someone punches back or they're in a dogfight, they're gonna welter away. And look, I mentioned earlier in the video about all the points about the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs defense should be able to stand up pretty well against the Bills. And I know the Bills have won the last 2 regular season games in Kansas City over the last 2 years, and they came down to crucial bad turnover plays at the end, or crucial plays. But I think this Bills defense has been weakened by what the injuries on the secondary, on the front end. And I just think at the end of the day, if you're going to trust Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen to make one play and the other to make a mistake, I think Josh Allen makes one key mistake and Mahomes capitalizes on it. To where also with the Bills having a lack of effective running game outside of their quarterback, I think the Chiefs win this game and avenge their 2-game regular season streak over the Bills. So that's all I like Kansas City, or -2.5, Kansas City straight up. The next game, the Denver Broncos over the Los Angeles Chargers. Russell Wilson had his 5th game out of 185 games with 3 interceptions. I believe he was the main reason why they lost this game. This was the 2nd worst game of his season. I would argue that the Chief game was worse because he threw for less than 100 yards and threw 2 picks. At least in this game, he had 2 touchdowns he at least had 2 total touchdowns, made a lot of good throws, and some runs. And, for the Broncos defense, they've lost the turnover margin for the first time in about 4 weeks. But for 7 straight games now, they have held opponents to 22 or fewer points. And so I really do have to give Vance Joseph his credit that they have done an incredible job of turning this defense around. And now it's put all the pressure back on the offense, where games like that for Russ, you really can't be yelling at the defense as much now because that defense is playing very good, top 10 type defense, which has helped this team turn it around. And look, I talked about the Chargers earlier. The biggest reason why you're taking Denver over Los Angeles at this point, because Los Angeles has some more talent. Herbert's been playing better than Russ. Herbert has a better offensive line. They have some better defensive pieces. But at the end of the day, Sean Payton's coaching on Brandon Staley's on the other side. When you have that much talent in Los Angeles, and you watch them every week like I have, it's just stunning that, the Chargers, if you want a shootout and lose, watch the Chargers. If you want a close game with no points, watch the Chargers. The Chargers cannot find a way to get out of close games. They will either win them by the skin of their teeth, or they will, or they'll lose them by the skin of their teeth. And it's just again. So at the end of the day, I think Sean Payton can outcoach Brandon Staley. Sean Payton's going to outcoach Brandon Staley, and it's going to come down to the moment to where either the Broncos get a game-losing turnover or turnover on downs, or Russell Wilson's able to make one big throw against this Charger defense, which has been, for the most part, pretty pathetic. Even though, again, they're playing a weak, Russ right now, who is throwing for over 200 yards one time. The only positive that the Chargers defense has is that Khalil Mack is leading the league in sacks at 15. So this is not like the Chandler Jones year, where, Khalil Mack had the 6-sack game and he did nothing else. Khalil Mack has actually been a very good force for most of the year. If you have 15 sacks, and you can say you still had 9 sacks through 11 games, even if you take out the one game you had. So Khalil Mack is having a phenomenal year, and it's also great because he doesn't have Joey Bosa. Could the Chargers win? Yes, the Chargers have more talent. The Chargers and Broncos always somehow seem to finally weirdly play close games. But I feel like where Hackett was the big problem, and P.J. Locke, who did have a nice sack, by the way, on C.J. Stroud, or actually a couple sacks on C.J. Stroud the other day, I think Sean Payton compliments and corrects what Nathaniel Hackett did, and they win the game off the coaching instead of losing it off the coaching like they did before. So that's why I like Denver here +3 and Denver straight up. The next game, or for the last Sunday night game, the Philadelphia Eagles over the Dallas Cowboys. This is one to where, for me, I can get why Dallas is favored. Dallas has been on a roll. Dallas has steamrolled offensively basically everybody. They have won 14 straight home games. They have their second longest active home streak since the early 90s. Mike has been phenomenal. Duron's leading the league with 8 interceptions. Dak's been sensational. He's only had 1 turnover over the last few games. He's really only had 1 bad game as well, and that was the game against the 49ers. The Cardinal game, he did okay. He threw the game-losing pick, but he did okay. But just at the end of the day, there's just something to me to where when you put Dak Prescott in a top spot, I just don't think he can get it done. CeeDee Lamb, will be great. CeeDee Lamb is I think he's had 4 games this year with 10 plus receptions and over 150 receiving yards. The offenses will be great. Dak's never lost to the Eagles at home. But to be fair, Dak got to play Gardner Minshew last year, and that basically Gardner's turnovers cost him the game last year. I think there is a point to where the Eagles are so ticked off and so mad, and adding Shaquille Leonard, who also the Cowboys wanted, was very key, that I think the Eagles should be able to grind out this victory. There is just something in me that, again, could Dallas win? Sure. And if Dallas wins, it changes the entire NFC picture, and it gives Dallas the legitimacy they have been wanting for the entire year. Because if Dallas loses, nobody's going to take them seriously, and they're a better version of the Miami Dolphins. If the Cowboys lose, they are the NFC version of the Miami Dolphins, and they are just better, because I think Dak's playing better than Tua, and Dak, they just have a better overall team, I feel like, than the Dolphins. But that's going to be a problem, because if the Cowboys have to play the Niners or have to play the Eagles, and they get swept and they get smacked by the Niners for, again, nobody's going to take Dallas seriously. Dallas will forever be this year, or forever moving forward for at least the next couple years, LeBron's medalist. They're the Alfred of the NFL. They're not Batman or Robin, and you could debate, which one is 1 and 2, but they'll be Alfred. And I just think the Eagles, they're going to get healthier. They should get Goddard back. They're going to get Shaquille Leonard in. That Eagles team is prepared and motivated to understand what's at stake, and I just trust Sirianni and that coaching staff to outcoach Mike McCarthy in a big spot in the close game, which I think this will be. So that's like Philadelphia plus 3.5. Philadelphia straight up. Then the final 2 games, the Miami Dolphins over the Tennessee Titans. This is one to where, look, Derrick Henry, has 18 career games now with at least 100 rushing yards, 2 rushing TDs. It's the 4th most in his first 8 years. Henry has 86 rushing touchdowns, the 5th most in his first 8 years. And look, the Titans, they showed a lot of promise. And they also lost their first home game, which was weird. But this is a Dolphins team that's just too dominant. I'm sorry. Look, Tyreek Hill, he's probably going to become the first wide receiver in NFL history to have 2,000 yards. I do not think that is MVP worthy. That will be Offensive Player of the Year worthy. And it's just something to where, look, the Miami Dolphins, the Titans at home are a much better overall team than the Titans on the road. Remember I told you guys a couple weeks ago, I still think they've only scored 2 offensive touchdowns at home or on the road all year. And to me, when you look at Will Levis, like I said before, he's gotten sacked a lot. And I do not trust this Titans offense on the road in Miami going against this Dolphins team to really play that well. I think, Jalen and Axe should be able to hold up their own. The pass rush part, I don't think will be that important because, even though you don't have Jerome Baker and they don't have Jerome Baker's week to week and Jalen Phillips now out for the year, like the pass rush, they have Andrew Van Ginkel. They have some other pass rushers they can help supplant that. And I just don't think the Titans defense, how weak and inefficient at secondaries looked going against Waddle and Hill and Tua with Achane and Mostert and all that speed, that is going to be just an absolute track meet that I don't think Mike Vrabel will be able to copy. But I do think I will give Will Levis this, and the Dolphins have shown moments to where they can give up some plays, and Derrick Henry they get a few gashes to control the clock. I will take Tennessee plus 13.5, because I just think that is way too many points of a Titans team that's shown a bit of optimism that, I think they win. I think they cover. So that's why I like Tennessee here, plus 13.5 with Miami straight up. And lastly, the Green Bay Packers over the New York Giants. Matt LaFleur has never lost a game in December. Jordan Love over the past 3 games has completed 68.5% of his passes, 857 total yards, 8 touchdowns, no interceptions. The Packers just feel consistent. They feel more dominant. The Giants over the past 2 games have given up 27 points. I've only scored 27 points over the last 2 games. I'm not really going to count the Washington game for scoring because everybody, the Commanders have been outscored. I don't really talk about the bye teams, but I think they've been outscored by 144 to 40. So, that's the worst defense in the NFL. So, again, I know it counts and they put up 39, but I'm just going to say I'm not going to give that much credit to that. And I just think the Packers are just playing an overall better game right now. They have better receivers. Love seems to be playing better, and I just trust the Packers defense to limit a very limited Giants offense with Tommy DeVito in it. And the Giants have lost 3 to 4 to the Packers overall. If they get a couple turnovers, if Jordan Love has a tough game, the Giants defense can make some big stops. Tommy DeVito, maybe could beat the Packers, and the Giants could spring themselves back into the wildcard conversation. But I just feel like with LaFleur's December record and how they've been playing, I think the Packers easily get this win by at least a touchdown. I was wrong last week about the game's ending, but I trust this one just because of the matchup. That's why Green Bay here minus 6.5 and Green Bay straight up. But that is it. So good luck to all players, coaches, fantasy players, and fellow prognosticators for this week. Like I said last week, these videos probably be coming out around Tuesday evenings until the postseason. Probably starting in the postseason with having as many limited games, and I should be able to get those out for everybody on Mondays. Moving from that point, but I just wanted to say good luck to all people out there that make predictions. We're unfortunately getting to the last quarter. It's very saddening, but I'm happy that, hopefully I can go on a good run in the year. So until next week, everybody, this is Matt the Fanatic signing off. Until then, everyone, so long.